Jonathan Majors did an interview.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. What is, damn it. I really thought that I was going to remember her name. Lindsay Davis. Okay. He did an interview on Good Morning America with Lindsay Davis where he talked about, his feelings on what transpired that night with his ex-girlfriend, his feelings on what the verdict ended up being,
Yep.
um, and his new girlfriend, and
Yep.
apparently Coretta Scott King too.
Right.
So, what did you think of that? Do you think it was time for him to do an interview
I think Disney
before
said it
his
was time for
sentencing?
him to do an interview.
Why does Disney care at this point, though?
Well, that was their major star, and maybe he's still going to be their major star. Who knows? But what we do know is ABC is owned by Mickey Mouse.
Yes. So you think that there is a possibility that that Marvel brings him back?
I didn't think that before, but one, watching clips of the interview, because I didn't watch the whole thing, but watching
Hmm.
clips of the interview, plus the fact that it don't look like he said much, plus the fact that ABC is owned by Disney. I feel like, oh yeah, Mickey Mouse told him, you got to go do this real quick.
I just don't understand why. I don't know if I don't know if I agree with that. It's possible, but what I'm thinking is that maybe his lawyers said, "Well, hey, let's try to parlay this interview before the verdict, before the not the verdict, before the sentencing, to maybe appeal to the public, appeal to the judge, and figure out, and see if we can salvage this in some way, because he is looking at jail time. I know that a lot of people, a lot of legal advisors have said that they don't think he will actually serve jail time, but he can serve up to a year in prison. So
No, it's
I
more
think,
than that. 2 years. He could serve up to 2 years. Two charges. Each one has up
oh,
to a year sentence.
okay, thank you for correcting that.
No problem.
Um, But yeah, I kind of feel like that's what it is. Like they're trying to appeal to the public to see if, people will still soften up to him, and maybe there's some leniency to be had off of, oh, so sad that, he's just so distraught, and he's got, some challenges, some mental challenges. He, just he's just a nice and humble guy that, he's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. At least that's what I got from what he said.
Hmm.
He kept harping on the fact that he shouldn't have been there that night, and I was like, you shouldn't have been with your girl.
Right.
He did also point out that it was, he said in hindsight, it was a dangerous relationship. It was volatile, and he admits that. He said he's never hit a woman before.
That's what he said.
Um, that's what he said. Um, and he just keeps saying, they were like, what do you wish you would have done differently? And I mean, he does say at some point, I wish I hadn't, picked her up and put her back in the car. He says he wished he didn't do that, but but the top level thing that he kept saying was, I just shouldn't have been there that night. Shouldn't have been in the car. Shouldn't have been with her. Shouldn't have. And it was kind of like, well, is that really what you shouldn't have done? Because you should be able to be in the car or be out and not have it turn into a physical situation. So I'm
I
not
agree.
buying that part of it. But I'm trying to think of the other key points that he made. He points out, well, the big one that we talked about already was that he points out that Megan Good, his new girlfriend, who honestly might be the girl he was texting when he got into the little scuffle with the ex-girlfriend. Now, we don't know that for sure,
We don't know for sure.
but it is a possibility. Because immediately after this happened, the two of them were on the scene.
That's true.
So there's a possibility there was some overlap there. But he talks about that. He talks about how she's, she's held him down and she's been really supportive to him. I actually think it's really funny. I'm going to send it to you. But there is a woman on TikTok every now and again. I guess when I look at. Are you making a face because I mentioned TikTok? TikTok is like Pinterest but video. Everything's there. Like everything you need, all the information you need is there.
Okay.
Anyway, there's this woman who, because some of the things that I look at is like pop culture related. There's this woman who pops up in my feed every now and again. Whenever something happens, she just randomly the algorithm makes sure she rotates in. But she is a body language expert, and she will take videos like she took the video from the interview where they pan to Megan Good,
Yeah.
and obviously they're showing Jonathan Majors, and she breaks down their body language. It's fascinating. Now, I don't know. I stopped watching it after a couple minutes because I'm like, I don't. I think that body language is really important, and I think when you can observe things from people based on their body language, you learn a lot. But I also feel like, okay, not too much. It's like everything. Look at the way Megan Good's lips are pursed, and then she's hunched over, and then she's rocking back and forth like she's trying to self soothe. It's a little bit too much for me. A
Yeah.
little too much, but it is interesting to see somebody try to break it down in a very different way than just us talking about the things that they said. Um, But what I've been hearing, and then feel free to jump in whenever. But what I've been hearing is that some people feel like he was a little too callous. Some people think that he was a little too nonchalant, almost like I'm above this, and you know, I don't, I don't know, I don't even know why anyone's questioning me or why I have to do this. Um, I don't know if that's what I got from it, but I thought it was an interesting perspective. So I wanted to bring that up because I've been seeing that. I saw that more than once, and I said, oh, maybe. I don't know. I feel like it was more emotionless than anything else.
Okay.
And I don't know. I think he's in a difficult spot.
Yep.
That's not to take up for him, but I think he's in a difficult spot where he hasn't been sentenced. First of all, I would not have done an interview not having been sentenced.
Right.
You're just leaving too much up to chance at this point. But again, as I said, maybe the idea is that he will appeal to people's emotions and maybe it won't be so bad for him. I don't know. But it just, because you can't really say what you want to say. You can't give too much. You can't say you were insane because then they're going to say, oh, well, you really did do it, right? You can't say, well, she was annoying, so I did what I did. You can't, like, there's so many things that you can't say. There's so much gray area right now. So I think he's in a difficult spot, and I kind of wish he wouldn't have done the interview. I kind of wish that he would have waited until after. Um, But like you said, maybe there is a play here for salvaging his career before the sentencing. I don't know how that works though, because it's inevitable. It's coming, whatever it is. It's coming
Change is
anyway.
coming.
Well, one way or the other, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's all interesting. I think that I think that I think that the timing of this kind of shows us a little something. And that's why I lean more towards the Disney theory, because no way your new publicist team and your legal team advise you to do this before sentencing. Like you said, there's this spot in the middle that he's currently at. Yes, the trial's over. No, he has not been sentenced. And so there's this big gray area, and it makes no sense to do this interview unless there's something else at play. Now, perhaps Disney does not want him back, but perhaps Disney said, hey, listen, we owe you X amount of money for X amount of films. We will pay you X amount of money, but you got to do this interview. I don't know what
Maybe.
Disney
Yeah.
said. I don't know what he's hoping to salvage. In the interview clips, you could see he says pretty much everything is gone. I got nothing left. I don't know if that's true, but even if it is, more reason to be manipulated by Disney to say, hey, go do this. Here's these cue cards. Master them, read them, learn them, say them. Very possible that he just went in there and played another role to save his bank account, pay his bills, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do I know that for a fact? Absolutely not. I am truly speculating here. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that that is more likely than I'm just going here to clear my name. Also, I think if he was going there just to clear his name, he would have a lot more passion because, like you said, he seemed very uh, unenthusiastic. You
Mm-hmm.
know, he seemed like I don't even really want to be here, and it seems like that wouldn't be the case for someone who did an interview during this odd time frame. Because why would you do the interview that you, why would you do an interview you don't want to do in that timing when you're waiting for sentencing?
Yeah.
Sentencing is not for another month almost. Why would you do an interview right now if truly you didn't want to, right? There's got to be something else at play, and maybe it's not Disney. I don't know. But it seems to me that this guy wouldn't come up there and just be so soft and emotionless as you said it, during this time. This is a tumultuous time. This is a hard time. This is a challenging time for him, right? He's waiting sentencing, just was found guilty of things that some people, including himself, according to what he said, didn't think that he would be found guilty of. And so somebody who feels that way, you're not going to come up there and, be speaking so softly and kind of trying to reduce your posture. You would come up there and be more bold and more straightforward. Say, listen, man, I don't even understand how this happened. You know what I'm saying? Look at the evidence we presented. I don't think the energy would be, I just don't understand based on the evidence that we presented and the evidence that they presented. How is this possible?
Could it be that that is that demeanor is being used as a tool
Yes.
to, the woe is me, I'm sad, I'm somber. Listen, this is something to be sad about. If we're being honest, it would come off as arrogant, or rather there would be a fine line between arrogance and passion, right? If you come and you puff your chest out and you say vehemently no when there's video and there's all of these things and you have been charged with something, to then come out and, I don't know, be like R. Kelly on with Gayle King, or even Chris Brown with Robin Roberts, where they had very big reactions. I think what we've seen is that that doesn't work. So I'm wondering if the reason why he was just so humdrum and so, oh, I'm sad, and I don't know what's going on, and the monotonous tone and all of that. I think all of that is a part. I think all of that is coaching.
Sure.
Um, and yeah, I don't know what the end game was for this interview. Um,
Thanos died in Endgame.
you're right. You're absolutely right. And Kang probably would have died too. So,
Maybe.
you
Very
know,
possible.
I mean, listen, the Avengers got to go avenge.
Gotta
They
go
can't let him
avenge.
live. They could not let him live. So yeah, I don't know. What I do want to point out though is that he did, since the interview happened and people had a very strong reaction to him bringing up Coretta Scott King, including her daughter. Um, he has responded, and I have it here.
Okay.
He says,
I mean, in the interview, he said it was an analogy.
right, and then he says, hmm, right, because Dr. Bernice King, Coretta Scott King's daughter, she made the point to say publicly that her mother was not a prop. And
Yep.
she wasn't just a wife who was just standing by her man. She was much more than that, which I
Yeah.
think
She said she was pivotal to the movement.
right,
Yeah.
which I think you and I even tried to convey when we had the conversation about Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
And he said, my intention was to convey my utmost respect for Coretta Scott King, her achievements, and both her personal legacy and the one she shares with her husband, Dr. Martin Luther King. He detailed that Coretta was a great woman and a very important figure in American and world history, and someone both Megan and I are inspired by and deeply admire. That was that.
There you go.
I just felt like, we should hear his side of the story since he put it out there.
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
I just, going back to the interview,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was foolish. I think he would have been better off as far as the legal case. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know about Hollywood, but as
Yeah.
far as the legal case, if he sat quiet and
Yeah.
just waited for sentencing, I
Mm-hmm.
think it is very clear that this is not about his sentencing, that there are other things at play here.
Okay.
That's what I got. That's my thoughts on it. Because I don't see why someone who's waiting for sentencing would do an interview and do this interview.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who's waiting for sentencing would probably shut the hell up
Mm-hmm.
until they can speak freely for real and say, "All right, listen, I've been sentenced. Let's do this.
Right.
Let's talk for real now."
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. Well, I guess it remains to be seen. We'll see what happens in a couple of weeks, and we'll see how it goes. It moves forward. The last thing I'll say is that I saw today. I know he did say he's lost a lot as a result of this, but I did see that he was officially dropped from the Dennis Rodman movie.
Okay,
Um, so yeah, and listen, for what it's worth, that was one that I think we were both excited about. We had talked about
absolutely.
it previously. Um, it's always tough when talented people get caught up in things like this.
Yes,
Um,
our
yeah,
people at that.
right. It's always tough to know how to navigate it.
Things.
Yeah, it's always unfortunate to have to be the people who consume the content, and then these things happen, and it's just weird, and you know I don't know. It's it kind of sucks. It kind of
Yes, it
sucks.
does.
But, you know, I guess we'll see. It remains to be seen what his future will look like.
Yeah, it's gonna take some time. I think
Hmm.
he'll bounce back, like I said to you off pod.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know to what magnitude. I don't know to what level. He was clearly on a very specific path. I don't know that he gets back there, but I think he's way too talented to just disappear.
Yeah. Agree.
So, yeah.
Agree.